Hello friends and welcome back. In the previous video we sailed from the island of Boa Vista to Mindelo on São Vicente. Explore the colonial waterfront, get mad with the mandingas, visit the Belem Tower replica that houses the Museum of the Sea, walk through the fish market, have an authentic dinner in Casa da Morna, experience Mindelo's energetic carnival, and provision for the Atlantic crossing. In this video we sail 1800 nautical miles from Cabo Verde to French Guiana. On screen you see our actual track. It is generally recommended to stay north of the intermediate waypoint marked by the green dot about halfway across. If you are below that point too early, you will be slowed down by the Atlantic countercurrent that flows from west to east. On the morning of March 8, we leave Cabo Verde behind and begin our first ocean crossing together. About 5 hours offshore, we are already greeted by a large pod of dolphins. We are off to a great start.
There's a lot of dolphins! Yeah! Yay!
If you interact with them, they stay around the boat longer.
Wow! Woohoo! Woo! Woohoo! Oh, wow! Oh! Woo!
First day on the water, leaving Cabo Verde, going to French Guiana. At least 2 weeks to go. A sail change to the spinnaker. Every morning we find a few dead flying fish on deck. Sail change to a combination of Screecher and Genoa. Wing on wing, the easiest sail plan to manage. We need to run the generator if we want to make water, since the solar panels do not generate enough power to run the water maker. On the 8th day at sea, the generator suddenly shut down, and after some investigation we found a loose contact in the oil pressure sensor, which was a quick fix. Every now and then we sail through a patch of sargassum, a type of brown floating seaweed. When the patches are significant, they can clog the cooling water intake, but we didn't have any problem. Sail change back to Screecher and Genoa again, but now on a different tack. Today is our 13th day at sea and our last full day of the passage. We expect to arrive on the Maroni River sometime tonight or early tomorrow morning. For those who have never done a passage like this, we thought it might be interesting to show you what life on board is like. I am standing on the bridge, facing west toward the bow and in the direction we are traveling. One of us is always here on watch. Looking to starboard, there is nothing but open ocean. The water is deep blue when the sun is out, grey when it is overcast and raining, and now it is slowly turning green. We are getting close to the South American coast, where the jungle rivers carry huge amount of brown silt into the sea. The water gradually changes from blue to green to the color of coffee with a splash of milk. Turning around the stern, we find Lisa on watch while I am filming. Lisa takes most of the daytime watches because she finds it difficult to catch up on sleep during the day. I take most of the night watches because I have no problem sleeping during daylight hours. As a result, we do not spend a great deal of time together during a passage, apart from lunch and dinner. In the past 2 weeks, we have seen only 2 other ships. I need to hold on now as I make my way aft. Looking east, this is where we came from and where the sun rises every morning. From the bridge, we can move down into the cockpit. We have already started preparing the boat for arrival by sorting lines, cleaning away cockpit cushions and organizing the trash. Depending on the wind, the noise and how much the waves are slamming under the hulls, we sometimes sleep on the outside bench. If we turn inward, we find the cozy nest that Lisa has built. This is where she spends most of her sleeping hours. I usually sleep outside, unless it becomes too noisy. Lisa is in the process of preparing lunch, although she is now keeping an eye out while I am filming. Now let's move over to the port side. Well, this is the other side of the ocean. And, not surprisingly, it looks exactly the same. You can see a set of blocks attached to the boom. This is called a preventer. We are sailing dead downwind and the preventer keeps the boom securely in place. Its job is to prevent an accidental jibe, where the mainsail suddenly swings across to the other side after an unexpected wind shift or course change. In the worst case, a violent jibe can even bring down the mast. We are sailing wing on wing, which means the genoa is set on the opposite side from the mainsail. On this course, we do not use the spinnaker when the apparent wind is gusting above 50 knots or when the true wind exceeds 20 knots. With only 2 people on board, it becomes too difficult and therefore too risky to take down such a large sail. Sometimes we sail wing on wing with the screecher and the genoa instead. That setup is much easier to handle, although it is not quite as fast as the spinnaker. Now let's head up to the bow. And yes, the sails are dirty. That is a souvenir from Cabo Verde, where we experienced a couple of desert dust storms while anchored in Boa Vista. The dust, mixed with moisture, covered the rig with a layer of sticky brown mud. We will clean it later. From the bow, you get a good impression of what it feels like to drive a 15-ton boat through the ocean. Directly beneath my feet is the auxiliary room, which houses the generator and the water maker. That whining sound you can hear is the water maker running. We are filling our water tanks before entering the river, because the heavy silt in the river water would clog the filters very quickly. Now I'm heading back to the bridge where we started. Everything has been secured with extra lines in preparation for arrival. And here is my sweet little captain. Here we are still 12 nautical miles out. We can't see land yet, but based on the watercolor, we know we are heading in the right direction. The sun has just set below the horizon when we enter the buoyed channel of the Maroni River, and at 8 p.m. we drop our anchor in the Coswin Creek, the first tributary of the Maroni River. Tired and proud of our successful crossing, we go to sleep. The following morning, we wake up with sounds that we have never heard and a landscape that we have never seen. For us, a completely new world, and we slowly take it in. At dawn and at dusk, the jungle is full of noise. During the day, it's quiet. Locals in a motorized pirogue, also called a fileuse, en route to Ayawande, a small hamlet further upstream that can only be reached by boat. These jungle rivers are tidal rivers. We are anchored close to the mouth of the Maroni River, where the current is generally strongest. This is what 3.5 knots looks like. After lunch, we dropped the dinghy to explore some of the river and to pay a visit to the village of Ayawande. The village uses the dilapidated remains of the jetty of the old Camp de Coswin, a labor camp with prisoners established by the French some 120 years ago to exploit the balata tree, whose latex was used as a substitute for natural rubber. The sleepy village is inhabited by friendly indigenous Kalina Amerindians. Upon asking if we were allowed to walk around the village, we were directed to the village chief. To find him, we just had to follow our ears, since he and his wife were busy processing cassava root. The bitter cassava roots are peeled, grated in this machine, and then squeezed in a woven tube called a matapi to remove the toxic juices. The dry pulp is then sifted and then either roasted into kwak or baked into cassava bread. We didn't stay long because our French is not good enough to start a conversation. There is no running water in the village and the water source is near the jetty. It is low tide when we head back to the boat. The brown-colored water is due to tannins released by forest vegetation mixed with silt rather than pollution. That evening we enjoyed our sundowner during this beautiful sunset over the jungle. The following morning we head south to Saint Laurent du Maroni and decided to follow the creek rather than taking the main river. We followed the Coswin Creek for a while and then made a starboard turn into the smaller Creek Canard, where we are sailing now. A flock of snowy egrets keeps flying away from us. Every time we hope to be near enough for a nice close-up, they take off again. Swamp bloodwood gets its name from the dark red sap that exudes when you cut the bark. It is used in traditional medicine. These are the fruits of the chew stick tree or boarwood. The berries are not edible, but the Amerindians brush their teeth with twigs cut from the tree. The purple star shows the location of the boat. This large egg is a termite's nest. We are now on the wide Maroni River, and these fishermen found some shade along the riverbank. Dwellings are appearing on the riverbank, indicating that we are approaching Saint Laurent du Maroni. We pick up a mooring downstream of what looks like an island, but is in fact the wreck of the British steamer Edith Cavell that ran aground and cracked its hull 100 years ago in 1924. It's time to go ashore and explore this town with its grim history, but that is for the next episode. If you like the video, then please give it a thumbs up and thank you for watching.